We're joined by Scarlett and Lizzie. Lizzie is the VP and Technology Partnerships and Channels at AdRoll. Scarlett is the founder of Wonder Curl. How to drive predictable growth in an unpredictable market is what we're talking about. And we are lucky to have Scarlett join us with Lizzie to have a fireside chat, break up the pattern a little bit, have a real conversation, and something that you guys can relate directly to. Here's a merchant talking about a very important topic: how to make us more predictable, how to grow in an unpredictable time. So thank you again, guys, for joining us.
So today we were chatting with the founder and CEO of Wonder Curl, Scarlett, one of AdRoll's amazing customers. I will let her explain what Wonder Curl does in just a second because she will do a much better job than I ever could. And we'll be touching on topics like creative marketing ideas, building a community by giving customers a sense of ownership with your brand, and when it's time to make a big change. So without further ado, welcome Scarlett, and I'm really excited to dig into this topic with you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Lizzie, for inviting me to speak on this, and also the Sendlane team. I'm really excited to share my experience using AdRoll. So Wonder Curl is pretty much what it sounds like. It is a line of products for curly hair individuals. So any texture of curly hair, from your loose curls to your tight curls. And we basically make the styling process simplified. I think for those of you who have curly hair out there in the audience, you know what it's like. And also with the frizz and everything that comes with it. So Wonder Curl streamlines the styling process. You only need 2 products, but you get long-lasting, hydrated results.
Cool. Yeah, with someone with curly hair, I can attest to spending the last 30 years trying to figure it out. So that's amazing to have that. And how's Wonder Curl evolved over the last couple of years?
Well, it's funny. I feel like it's like everything was before COVID and after COVID at this point. So prior to COVID, we were doing a lot of events, going to trade shows, doing in-store events. And then that came to a complete halt for obvious reasons. And we had to start thinking about how are we going to engage with our customers. And our customers aren't just the end users. Our customers are also hairstylists, salon owners, because we also sell to those retails. And we wanted to be able to continue to build our community in different ways. And so that was, of course, utilizing the live features on Instagram. Now we're on TikTok, Facebook groups, that sort of thing, as well as finding different ways to reach out to them through email marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. I didn't even think about all the different audiences that you're speaking to. So that's a cool lens for us to dive into. So let's get into kind of the meat of this topic. In an unpredictable market like we're in today, most brands and platforms are being extra conscious about expenses. And it can be really difficult to know when to make big changes. So I know Wonder Curl recently made a huge change from at-home production to working with a manufacturer. How did you know when to go for that?
So basically, it's happened in stages, right? Like, first, I started making products at home. Like a lot of people started mixing things in my kitchen. And I got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm spending more time making and filling products than I am working on my business. So you have to find where that balance lies. And then it took me some time, because to go from kitchen to full scale manufacturing, it's like from here to here. And then there's all this space in between. And a lot of manufacturers, they have higher MOQs, or minimum order quantities.
Yeah.
So I had to find a middle person before getting to the next level. And that middle person is someone who can make them in more like pail sizes or drum sizes. So going from 5 gallons to 55 gallon, right? And finding someone who can help me build in between, that was the hardest part. Yeah. And that was just working with my network, using my small business association, and just asking around a lot until I found that person. And now I am going into full scale manufacturing. So it's always looking at the bottom line, realizing when you get to that point where, okay, I can't do this anymore. It's too much. Now it's time to scale up.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And talking to your network, I was going to say, I had in the back of my mind, like, how do you even learn about that, right? Because it's something probably completely new. So utilizing your network is a great way to think about that. I'm sure you learned throughout that process to get to that manufacturer stage as well.
Yep.
So the beauty and hair product market is pretty dang crowded. There's lots of large brands, there's lots of D2C brands. I know when I walk into a store, I'm overwhelmed by how many products there are. I think Wonder Girl has done a fantastic job of standing out. What do you think you've done to make it different from other hair products on the market today and to compete in such a competitive space?
You know, like when I first started this, it was in 2010 was when I launched with one product, which was the Get Set hair jelly. And there really were not a lot of other product lines on the market today. And because there's such a lower barrier to entry, you can see people now starting their own product lines on TikTok and then just taking off because they have like that viral moment.
Yeah.
And so I've always had to think like, okay, what makes me different and how can I stand out from the rest? So it could be from simply branding, right? When I first started, I had these light pink jars. And then one day, years later, I was like, everybody has pink jars. So I switched to black jars. And now I am in the process of rebranding again. Hopefully, this is the last time, going more like simple, pretty, and using yellow, which is another color that's not being used a lot that I'm not. So it's kind of like, what is it that other people aren't doing that you can do?
Yeah.
The other part that I'm setting myself is education, right? Especially when it comes to our hair and curly hair. There is a lot of misinformation out there, and curly hair is like such a passion of mine. It's something that I can talk about all day if you let me. So having those platforms like TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and using those for me just to talk in front of people and explaining how to care for your hair. What are the do's and don'ts? And even to this day, there's so many myths that have been busted, but people are still perpetuating them. And I use that as a way to create my own moments that gets people's attention.
Yeah. Do you see like a lot of engagement with that type of educational content?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. People are excited about
100%.
it.
Like I went viral on TikTok years ago when I created a video talking about why air drying was more damaging than heat. And it got like over 2.7 million views.
Yeah. I need to watch that because I air dry
Yeah.
often. I do want to touch on, you mentioned that you're rebranding again, and we're running some cool ads for that right now. We talked about the big change for production, but
Mhm.
why did you decide to rebrand, and what's kind of the goals around doing that?
So my brand story before wasn't really prominent enough, and I felt like this was the time to reintroduce Wonder Curl to the world and share a little bit more about who I am, where I come from, and why the elements that I'm using in my brand are important. So for one, I am a Haitian born Jersey girl. I am an immigrant, and being Haitian, I feel like it's such an important part of who I am. It's my culture that I want to share that in Wonder Curl. So we changed the fragrance of the products to a custom fragrance, and I named it Bois du Lawak, and Bois meaning wood. Lawak is my mother's maiden name, and it made her so happy, by the
I
way.
bet.
But between going from the new look of the line and telling that story, there's all of the different working parts behind it. So first it was having a clearance sale, and I'm still having that clearance sale and marketing that sale. And that's where AdRoll came in. And it was just very simple. I was like, I don't have a lot of time. I don't have a huge budget. I had my graphic artist come up with something. It was basically out with the old, in with the new.
Yeah.
And it showed them the new picture, the new product images very prominently. And that was it. And I was so happy at the end of this. And I only ran it for a week throughout your display network and was able to see that I got a 4-time return on my investment.
Yeah. That creative is awesome. I was looking at today. I was like, oh, this is really great creative. So good job to your graphic designer there. That's exciting to bring more of you and your, personal story into the messaging there. Okay, so we've talked about some of the incredible things that you've done at Wonder Curl, but I also want to discuss the struggles. So what kind of what kind of impact has the economic downturn had on your business, and how have you adapted your business strategy, either with things you've done on your website or switching channels that you're marketing on to combat some of these challenges?
So probably the biggest economic impact is the cost of doing business. And when you have a product line, every time I have to order ingredients, I'm just like, the price keeps going up and up and up. The cost to ship is always going up and up. So then I have to think about, okay, these are issues that I have like no control over.
Yeah.
Right. I have no control over that. It's a commodity. They come up and down. There's nothing you could do about it. So it's like, okay, where can I save money? And that's where those marketing dollars are so important, because for me, spending $10 a day, and I know most people's, like some businesses, their budgets are like 50,000 a week. I mean, a month.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, I'm happy to spend like $50 a day. Right. So I really have to look at how I spend those dollars. So using AdRoll and being able to analyze which ads are doing well, which aren't, as well as figuring out who I should be targeting, right? It's not just retargeting my current market, but finding new people, new customers. And I feel like that's where AdRoll really shines for me, because they aggregate all of that information and put it into these different segments. So I don't have to think about it. I don't have time to think about that. I'm like a one-woman show.
Yeah.
So before, when I used to run Facebook ads, I had to like go through the Facebook groups and figure out like, okay, who's my target audience, and like try to build that audience out perfectly. And I was like, I don't have time for this. So using AdRoll, and you guys do the Facebook, the Instagram, the Pinterest, now TikTok ads. So now it's just me. I have to think about like, okay, what do I want to promote? What do I want to share? What do I want to tell people?
Yeah, and I think you do a really good job of like updating your creative pretty regularly and telling that new story, and so that's where you can focus your time and energy.
Yes.
I think one of the other things we had chatted about is some of the strategies you're using on the website itself. So, third-party cookie deprecation is a thing that will happen sometime in the future, and so getting the email addresses, the first-party data for your customers or people visiting the site is really important. And I know you have some cool things happening on your website through some quizzes and courses. Could you share a little bit about what you're doing there?
Yeah. So before, I used to, have like a discount offering, but most people who are landing on your page, they're not ready to make a purchase. So I probably got like a 1 or 2% conversion rate. But what people really want is help. They want education. They want you to tell them something they didn't already know. And that's where quizzes come in. And it was just like, why didn't I do this sooner? My quizzes have a 68 to 70% conversion rate.
That's incredible.
Right. And it's just 4 simple questions. So what it has is like what I call the 4 pillars of hair. So I could ask people, what's the porosity, what's your structure, the density, and your type. And I say, understanding this creates the full hair story.
Yeah.
And And of course, people are like, I don't know my hair porosity. What is a porosity?
That
Right?
was my question.
So that's basically just how your hair absorbs moisture. So when you get in the shower, does your hair get wet quickly or does it take a longer time to get wet? Like my hair would be considered low porosity. So when I get in the shower, it takes a few minutes before my hair starts to absorb that water. So I have to sit under the hot shower for a while and then I have to shampoo my hair. So there are, depending on your hair story, is going to determine which Wonder Curl products you should be using and also how you should be using those products.
Yeah.
And these are also like the frequently asked questions that I would get. Well, what product should I use? Putting this quiz up there, giving them the results immediately, and also explaining, okay, this is your hair type. This is how you should be applying your products. This is what you should be doing every time you wash your hair.
Yeah.
And it's been so much better than trying to give them 10, 15, 20% off.
Yeah, and I think we talk about product recommendation all the time in the ads in the email world, but that's really like, you got this, you might be interested in this. This is getting really into the personalized recommendation. Like, tell me 4 simple things about yourself and we will give you the exact thing that you need. And then you can follow that up with other products that you come out with, or do you need to refill on this product or whatever it may be. So you get a lot of data about that individual customer, which is great.
Exactly.
What about the virtual courses that you're doing? I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, before that, the other piece is I also have the exit intent. So if someone's about to leave, we offer them a free ebook as well. So in that you can download, it's about like 10 pages, I think, and it's basically a workbook, again, that you can use to help you with your wash day. So the next level is an e-course that I created, and it's a series of 5 different videos. I'm still in the process of putting that together, but it will be a drip campaign. So the person will enter their email address, and then every week they're going to get a new video. And each video, it's about 3 to 5 minutes long. I do have one long 30-minute video, but that's like a very detailed, this is how you wash your hair on a day, like every time you wash it. These are the steps that you should be taking to achieve defined curls. And I explain in detail, like what you should use to dry your hair, the tools you should be using, why you should be using those. And this is like going through social media and understanding who my customer is. These are the things that they are looking for. Like, we've been in business for over 13 years and it's still the same problems. My hair is dry. My hair won't grow. My hair keeps breaking. So understanding the fundamentals and getting just the basic wash day down really helps your hair to thrive. I'm like, my hair is long, not because I'm special, not because of my genetics, but it's because I got my wash day down pat, and that's what works.
Yeah, that makes sense. You found a few of the core customer issues and then you're figuring out a way to address that head on. So I love that.
Yeah.
I think something, a lot of businesses are trying to figure out right now is how to do more with less. So could you share, I know you've touched on a few of these things, but what have you done to become more efficient?
Oh, so the first thing I do is I use my Google Calendar to time block. And that helps to keep me productive. It keeps me on track of what I need to do. So it could be like from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., I'll work on my e-blast. From 10 to 12, then I'll work on social media. So it's also lets me prioritize what needs to get done, as well as if I run out of time, then I'll know, okay, this actually took me more time than I thought. So it also helps you when I am ready to hire more people, then I will know where I would need help.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so I have found that to be probably one of the easiest and best ways to become productive. But then with social media, for example, I think a lot of us, we're like, I get brain fried when it's trying to think about like, okay, what kind of content? And then it's like, there's IG reels, there's YouTube shorts, right? I'm like, where will I have the time to create a million different videos for all these different ones? So I've been using different platforms that will basically take one video and then just repost it automatically or as I tell it to.
Yeah.
So I schedule out. I will create my videos in TikTok and then I schedule them to repost to Pinterest, to TikTok, to YouTube and to Instagram. And there I can tweak each one and adjust the titles and the captions as I need to. I think the other one, it's the hot topic. We're all talking about it, is the AI chat features.
Yeah.
So I've been playing around with AI chat for almost a year, but I'm really using it a lot more now because I'm like, I don't have time to think about what I'm going to write in an e-blast. So I use AI to help me come up with suggestions.
Yeah, which is great. I think we're all getting on that trend. I know I'm doing it quite often.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to do our last question. Please feel free, everyone that's on the webinar, to add some questions into the chat because we'll switch to those in a minute. But I think, there's been a real upswing in businesses trying to double down on keeping the customers that they have. And I know you've done a great job really building relationships with your customers. So, what steps has Wonder Curl taken to create customer loyalty and really maintain that customer relationship? I know you've chatted a little bit with the quizzes and the ebooks, but in terms of influencers or other programs that you're thinking about.
Yeah, all of it. So I do work a lot with influencers. I use Shopify for my e-commerce, and they have this free plugin called Collaborations or Collaborate, which used to
Collaborators,
be
yeah.
Dovetail. And I don't even like, I used to promote it. Now I don't. And just being on their site, I get like 4 or 5
Inbound.
weekly interest, people who want to be my affiliate. And through them, like right now with the rebrand launch, I'm also planning a virtual launch party as well as an in-person launch party. So I'm going to use them, sending them product. We're all going to do like an unboxing at the same time, show off what the new look is, have them talk about the products as they've used it, and really using them as my cheerleaders. I think that's the best part. And when you find influencers that really genuinely love your products, they're going to talk about it, right? You're not going to have to spend thousands of dollars because for me, like sending them $50 worth of product already is a lot of money for me.
Yeah.
So, and then you think about like, okay, now I have to send 10 content creators $50. That's $500 plus the cost of shipping. So that's like $60 per. So that all of that adds up. So once they become part of your ecosystem, they truly love and want to work with you. And the other way to retain customers, like sadly, like there were some mix-ups in my shipping, but sending them a handwritten note, giving them like an extra sample, like, so sorry, this took so long. And it's me, I signed it and they really appreciate that. Or I had one person, she was so distraught. She had no idea what to do with her hair and she called and I answered and she's like, it's a real person.
Yeah.
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 And we spoke for like a good half hour. And
that's incredible. Like she can share that story hopefully with other people and that will go a very far way. So that's way better than in a newsletter email. Yeah.
Exactly. And with social media, your customer has way more access to you than ever before because I'm a Gen Xer. So brand, like we didn't know who the owners of brands were. We couldn't reach out to them the way we are now. So it's finding ways to be accessible to them without them using up so much of your time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like, if every customer called me, I would never get work done, right? But having like that live chat function for when they need it. But on the other hand, if it's simple things, where's my order? Something came damaged, my virtual assistant takes care of that. I said, you take care of these things that don't need my intervention, but when a customer needs help figuring out what products to use, I can take care of that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think we talk a lot on the influencer side about like finding your niche audience because it's not as expensive and they really, if they love your product, they will talk about it all the time without even really thinking about it. I know I do that. So that's awesome. That's kind of been your approach there and really good insights on that. Okay, so we are going to switch over to some Q&A. So as I mentioned before, please feel free to put questions in there. Right before I do that, I do just want to call it an opportunity for any Shopify merchants on the webinar today. AdRoll recently launched our AdRoll rewards program for Shopify merchants that sign up for AdRoll and use our Shopify app integration. And your store is automatically enrolled into the program and you will begin earning 10% back on any ad spent in the form of ads credits immediately. So hopefully this plus Charlotte's glowing review of us will help you try out AdRoll. Cool. So we have a few questions that we got prior to this session. And Amir, feel free to pop. Oh, he just popped in and popped out. Pop it, and Caitlin, pop in with any questions that you have that you saw come through the chat. One of the first questions here is when you're creating content for your customers, how do you determine what topics to include?
So I have like my own little calendar that I created in OneNote because I couldn't find any software that did exactly what I needed. And then I just look at the full calendar and I think about like what's trending topics. What is my community? And for me, that's the natural hair community. What are they talking about? What are they complaining about? And then so for example, if everybody remembered when the Maelle rosemary oil was sold out of like every store, all of a sudden it became this thing. And I came on and I was like, you guys, rosemary oil will not grow your hair. And people were mad, but they were engaging. And then through that, I was, so the nice thing with TikTok is you create this one video, it gets a lot of engagement. People will ask questions and then you reply back to those in a video form. So sometimes I have whatever is already scheduled out. So I know like, okay, I'm going to promote my shampoo bar. So I'm going to create videos talking about why you should be shampooing your hair, how you should shampoo your hair, but then showing them me using the shampoo bar and being ready for that. But also if something suddenly goes viral, being able to jump on that trend as well.
And adjust to that. That makes a lot of sense. So what does the next chapter for Wonder Curl look like? I know you're going through the rebrand right now, but anything else but beyond that?
Yeah, like huge things. Some things I can't announce just yet, but last year I went through the Sephora Accelerate program. So I'm still working with the Sephora team, and that's one of the reasons why I rebranded. Also, I am speaking with potential investors, which is scary because, like, for me, it would be like, mom, dad, sisters, I need money.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so now it's like going to outside people and figuring out navigating. That's a whole new world for me. Again, utilize your network. Utilize your network. You never know who knows somebody who can help you. So that's what I'm doing. Like every day I'm like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm looking for investors. If you know anybody who wants to invest in a BIPOC beauty owned business, right? So those are the two huge things. And also going into hair analysis, talking about that personalization. So I realized that my products can only maintain what you grow. And I share with people a healthy body grows healthy hair. But now it's like everybody wants to be healthy, but some of us don't know where to start. So now it's also taking Wonder Curl into the hair wellness world.
That's awesome. Are you partnering with people who research that to come up with some of that data, or how are you approaching that?
Mostly working with trichologists.
Okay.
So if you don't know, a trichologist is a specialist of the scalp. So they're like they know more than a hairstylist, but they're not yet on the dermatologist side. So they're the person you would go to before that, or even work with a dermatologist. And so a lot of people have scalp issues. And for me, I had seborrheic dermatitis for many years, for almost 20 years. And I learned that it was my diet and stress that caused it.
Yeah.
I would love to kind of inject a question based off of some of the stuff that we're just covering.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to this talk, a different talk, but it was e-commerce focused, and we talked a lot about kind of brand voice. And
Yes.
and the example was like a t-shirt company talking about the features of their shirts versus the fact that that shirt makes the people that it sells it to feel, it hides my dad bod and makes me feel confident, right? And he had particularly targeted that moment where he went from selling kind of the features and the things about the shirt to this story that becomes the brand voice, that becomes the brand identity, that builds the brand champions. How are you able to find that? And what do you think is a really good piece of information to share with everybody so that they can find their brand voice and their brand identity?
So, well, first, I did not want to be like the face of Wonder Curl. I always wanted to like be the behind the scenes person. But one, I come cheap. I can afford me. So, especially during the pandemic, I was like, well, I guess I'm going to have to be it. But also, I always said that when I think of Apple, for example, they don't sell you products. They sell you the experience of using their products. And that's what I wanted Wonder Curl to be. It wasn't like I'm not selling you these products, but I'm selling you the experience. I'm selling you the idea like, one, you will have great hair, but you're gonna do it by not having to use as many products, and it's going to last much longer. Is also breaking through the noise because so many people are used to using 4 to 5 different products. So it's also having to tell them again, tell them one more time, and constantly sharing that, but understanding what it is that makes you you. And that became part of my culture, but also me as a person having that integrity. I am a plant-based vegan, and people are always intrigued when I tell them that about myself. So I had to infuse me as part of the brand story, because and that's kind of like where everything is. Like, people call me Wonder Curl.
Yeah. Even though you didn't want to be the face of it. Yeah, I think that what I was really taking away there is like, you can either expand your product line and sell more to the same people, or you can expand the user base and what you're giving them. And that's what you've really done. Like, you are taking everything that surrounds your core products and educating people and finding new customers through that education. And I really like that message. Is such a good way to think about growth.
Totally.
Yeah.
It really makes you stand out, right? I mean,
I have to compliment you too, Scarlett, on just like the level of authenticity that you have in your brand as well. I think that is so relevant for right now, especially on TikTok. I was just educating Amir the other day on TikTok when we were talking about video production. And I said, no, we don't want to make these like really high production videos for TikTok. We just want, to take a selfie video and just talk and be real. And that's what people crave. And I feel like that, I know how much time probably goes into that for you, for like video creation and responding to people and being the face. But like, who better to really be a brand champion for you than the person who is the founder and a customer yourself? Exactly. So I love that too. Like going on your website, all the UGC that you have. I mean, you can't do much more like good than just showing how much people love your product and are so happy to share that. And I feel like, especially in a space where there is competition, like that is really how you win against big brands. They don't have that level of super authenticity where you have the founder coming out saying how they created the product, what their story is. So I just definitely had to give you a compliment on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I mean, people buy from who they like.
Yep.
At the end of the day.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and we see it over and over again in D2C, right? There are brands that come in, take on a big conglomerate, and then all of a sudden they're like the category leader. They do it because they're doing the things that you're doing, which is one, they lead with a very clear brand voice and a why, not just a competing product. It's actually completely separating itself from there. And then having someone as the face of it, you don't always have to be the face of your brand, but where it makes sense, right?
Yeah. And they care. You care a lot about this and the community you've built, and that shows through everything that you're doing, which is great.
Exactly. And it's for my audience, one of the comments I get a lot on social media is like, I feel safe here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, people just seek so much to be understood.
Yes.
Like whatever their problem is that you're trying to solve, like they just want to feel like you get them, you know. I feel like that's what we're all looking for in any sort of product. Like, do you understand what we really need or what our struggle is? And if you do, then I'm more likely to connect with you and buy your product and become a brand champion for you. So you're definitely crushing it. Well, it was wonderful to have you, ladies. I enjoyed the change up from all of our presentations to just listening to you guys chat. That was great. So it was great to have both of you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. And thanks for everyone who joined the session today too. And thank you, Scarlett. That was incredible.